So where did the tradition of cradle boards come from? At least for you. And we recognize that obviously everything varies by tribe and by region and things like that. So we understand that this may not be universal, but as an expert, like in your tradition, where did it kind of come from?
Well, for me, I understand. I don't know of an origin story about the board, but I do know like traditional purpose, and that was because how we lived and how we sustained was always outside, or how we traveled and after we got a horse, in any case, there was a way to sort of have a safe way to transport your child. Um, People who are really skilled horse riders would put the baby sometimes on the horn of the saddle. I was trying to think what that's called. And they would use something like this strap. And if it was walking, which walking is a pretty big transportation mode, that strap can be put across right here, and the baby would be facing back that way. And if you were working, you could put the baby by a tree, or either that, or there was a way to safely secure them with the strap. And I don't know how they did that, but have the tree. And I kind of doubt that they did that actually, because I wouldn't. But then I wouldn't put my baby on a saddle horn either. But anyways, it was all about being able to continue to do what you needed to do for your daily work for your family, So if you were up in the woods, or if you were outside doing something for a long time, I mean, you kind of had to have a way to protect your baby from the elements, So, and the babies like it; they like being swaddled. So,
Great.
Yeah, that's what I know about the beginnings of, and it was actually made out of a whole piece of a tree before. So somebody would have carved it out of a big solid piece of wood from a tree. It would have been a whole entire carving. It reminds me of a boat or something. But and the other thing too is, as time had went by, the board got bigger. So that's an attestament to probably mode of travel, I'm guessing, and cultural evolution. Yeah, I was told that the board was a lot shorter. So this board, when I made this one, it was I took it from a ratio. I took a picture, and I measured, or I estimated the ratio of how big the board would be from the picture, and then I used it that way. So this is more reflective of probably the more recent size of boards that our tribe used.
Nice. So. Wow. That's amazing. So where did you learn to use a cradle board?
I learned from a couple. There is another style of swaddling that is used way more often than the cradle board, and that's called a moss bag. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if everybody calls it a moss bag, but that's what Salish tribes call that bag. And it's like imagine just this laced up part without the board.
Oh, okay.
No headpiece. So it would just be like this laced up thing that you put up around the baby, and then you wrap it up, and so they're really laced in. My mom and a lot of family members, because a board is a really complicated process, a lot of people all over Montana, all over Indian country will use those moss bags.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I learned first was that moss bag was something very similar to the cradle board. It has a lot of the same purposes except for like you can't like prop a baby with it or nothing. It's just like a wrap. Um, but the concept of it and some of the things that it's meant to promote, like I don't know if I had mentioned like the sleeping. It helps a baby sleep better,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean just like the health part of it. You know, it's there's no like doctor that come and told anybody, but it's just a really a secure feeling for the baby to be swaddled. Um, my mom was the one that really told me a lot when I was younger. And then as I got older, um, a, an actual cradle board. So, like this one, these end up being heirlooms. So, my kids, if they don't want to, they don't have to go make another board. I'll give it because this will belong to one of my kids, and my child can take this, and it's still usable. It's not like you don't. I mean, it's not broke. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, it's so incredibly usable, and so if they have a kid, they could use this board for their kid, and there's some families that will take care of a board long enough where it will go through a couple of generations of kids like that, because you can only use it for a certain period of time. But my husband, um, his mom taught him how to construct a board. And so the combination of his knowledge and my mom's knowledge, and then because his mom had way more kids than my mom did, his mom knew how to use the board really well, and so he knew how he knew how to keep the baby in the board or put the baby in the board, and he knew how to you actually utilize the board. And I had never had that experience, so kind of learned from different people, his mom, him, and then my mom, and so we
That's
were
really
able to go
beautiful
through.
though, to have a cradle board be something, especially in your family where your husband can make it and then you can use it and pass it along. That's beautiful. That's wonderful. You mentioned there's only a limited time you can use a cradle board. So what ages really are a cradle board for? Like when do you stop using the cradle board?
So you can use the board from the time they're born until they grow out of it. So if you make a small board, um, the baby probably won't even get to use the board by the time, like if you wait too long to make the board, and there's a taboo that goes with that. And I really recommend like to my peers, that other native people who are really inquisitive about wanting to have a board. A lot of tribes have a taboo of you're not supposed to have possessions prior to your baby being born. So you're not supposed to buy anything for the baby. Like you can right before, like you get like a little going home kit, like you have like a few clothes and a few diapers, but then either, I don't know, you acquire all of it afterward.
Mhm.
And our tribe is like that, but it's more a matter of whether somebody still practices that, because a lot of people don't even acknowledge that anymore, but the ones that do, the board is a part of that. And so they will think, well, I can't have a board until after baby is born. But that was one of the things that I was super curious about. And my uncle, he's over 70 years old. I had to go ask him because, you have to go find your elders at that point and see what's acceptable. I asked him the question of how am I supposed to have a board for my baby, because it takes so much time to make the board. How am I supposed to have that before baby grows out of it. And so then he said that was one of the very few things that you could start working on while you were still pregnant. Is you could, like mine, because there's some things they're super optional. Like mine has all of this work on top of it. Um, that's what I wanted. I wanted to have this work, and it's not even a complete one because usually a board will have our style of board, and a lot of other tribes too. It'll have a cover that goes over the top of that as a decorative piece, and I never got that far, and so I was able to have the board completed. I think 2 weeks after my first kid was born. So I had it from that, and then I was trying to remember how old. He was really old when I stopped using it. So it's however long you make this thing and however much give right here, because you could open this up quite a ways. However much give, and people really have a lot of nostalgia with their kids when they raise their infants in a board, that the baby is really accustomed to the board, and so the baby finds a lot of comfort in it. And so as the baby gets older, if the parents never cease using that this wrapping part as a way to like swaddle them, because you can swaddle babies in different ways, but if they never quit using the wrapping part as a soothing method, the baby could be like real old before they quit using it, and sometimes their legs will be sticking way out like that. The baby, when they start getting verbal, they'll like request to be in the board, and I don't know if they sleep in it still, but I've seen it. I've seen some pretty big babies and their legs are way out there. So I think it's up to the parent how long they want to, but a lot of times if the parent wasn't really prepared to have that board as a part of their daily routine, they'll just use it for very temporarily, and then they don't use it. It ends up being a decorative piece in their house or gets put away or whatever. So it's really up to the family and the baby and how they choose to really include the board as a part of their baby routine.
You mentioned that your board has that really decorative piece. What are some things that distinguish like a cradle board from another that you could that might be different tribally or regionally or things like that?
We created the design. I and my husband created this design. We were looking at old photographs that has beadwork from our tribe, and then we were inspired, and then we put those type of floral designs back here.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. And we had known that this type of design is you'll find it on a lot of regalia in old pictures, or even current times. A lot of people will make their regalia designs out of this type of floral design. And so our tribe, we use this, or we use like a real simple geometric style.
Mm-hmm.
And a long time ago, you used to be able to tell where somebody was from based off of the way that they design their clothes, the way the clothes were constructed. And so that's the other piece, is the construction of the board. So each tribe is different, and each tribe is also different in things that would adorn the board. So some tribes, like I think maybe Crow, like on the back here, they would keep the belly button after it fell off and they sew that up into a decorative pouch, so you don't even know there's a belly button in there. That's an extension of yourself, and they put that onto the board, and then it's a decorative piece. And there's a lot of tribes that do that, not just Crows. I don't think we do that, but that custom is a part of what we do for babies.
Mm-hmm.
And then also, like I said, this is missing a piece that's a really decorative piece. I don't know how people would have time to. I couldn't even barely get the one part done. That is another part of what would make this from here, from Salish. Our cousin tribe, who is a part of our reservation, and our tribe is the Pondere,
Mm-hmm.
and they have quite a bit of similarities to us. So I don't think you'd be able to tell us apart in terms of like construction of a board. And then, like I said, some families, they would put a thing that goes across here.
Mm-hmm.
And then that serves a couple of purposes, because some dangle stuff off like the way you would in a mobile. Other tribes, they have other really specific telltale things that have to be included on a baby's board, like because there's such a huge tribe, it's easy to hear some of their stories. But like the Navajo, or they like to be called the Dene,
Mm-hmm.
they have a way of constructing their board that if you looked at the board and if you understood the tradition of their cradle board, you would, at first glance, you would know whether that baby was a boy or a girl. You wouldn't have to ask at all, because the board would tell you if the baby was a boy or a girl, because of the way that the board is constructed. So they have, and then some tribes, they'll just do it different. There's so many different ways. They'll, right down to the covering. There's a lot of different meanings to these. So it's really important to just ask each person, which custom they follow. Like myself, I said in the beginning, I'm Salish and I'm Crow.
Mm-hmm.
Well, my mom is Salish. I grew up on Flathead Indian Reservation, and so a lot of those type of motherly customs I know are Salish, and so I'm familiar with that. And so I tended to raise my kids or take care of my kids in that way. But I know like Crows, they would have a lot of different recommendations or suggestions or things that you do, and people like to incorporate a lot of contemporary designs into what they do, because cultures evolve, and
Mm-hmm.
so people like modern ideas, and you never know what you're gonna find on what kind of decorations you're gonna find on a baby board sometimes.